Welcome back to the bloodiest war in world history. But here's an unnecessary question. Who was Joseph Zugashvili, and what did his country do during World War II? The first question is easier to answer. It's Joseph Stalin's real name. But here's the next answer. So along with dividing Poland, Zugashvili also agreed to supply Germany with fossil fuels, which was critical to Hitler because Germany was resource poor in many ways. Also, you should know that Zugashvili was obsessed with his safety. When the Soviets detonated their first nuke, the man who was in charge of the nukes and Soviet intelligence called Joseph. He already knew of the nuclear success. Anyway, in October, the USSR put pro-Soviet governments in the Baltic states that permitted independence and occupation. They wanted a similar deal with Finland, but they said tapellaan and war began in November. The Soviets were utter failures in the early conflict for many reasons. No camouflage, no skis, too much desertion. Also the Finn, Simo Hayha, was a pain in the neck. When the Nazis invaded Poland, they used an old tactic with new technology. Blitzkrieg was at least attempted by figures like Otto von Bismarck and Frederick the Grosse, and the first steps towards it were made by Frederick William, and surprise attacks were even taken by the Teutonic Knights. But while Hitler rolled over Poland, Nazi soldiers treated the people well, except the Jews, and Poland surrendered in a month. Then on the day Chamberlain declared war, Fritz Julius Lemp launched the first torpedo of the Western Front, sinking the civilian ship Athenia. But this was a mistake. Lemp admitted so. In fact, Hitler ordered that no civilian ships or civilian centers be attacked. On the same day, the British started flying to Germany to drop propaganda and show how vulnerable they were. While the Nazis in UK fought the phony war, Italy was attempting conquest. Unfortunately, because of Italy's interventionist policies in the economy, it boosted up initially, but then the GDP per capita stagnated. But he renamed the Mediterranean to RC. He began integrating Albania and took some small places. Italy instigated a border skirmish with Ethiopia during the Wall incident in 1930. After a long standoff, Italy invaded in late 35. Ethiopians had only geography as a defense against Europe, and to this day, 85% of Ethiopians farm. So technological Italy had an advantage against the agrarian land. As World War continued, Italy would aggressively choke the economy, encourage monopoly and cartel, and spike up taxes. Mussolini gradually allied himself and invaded Albania in April 39. As Hitler and Mussolini planned for Central Europe, Franco and Salazar held Iberia. Francisco Franco took power after the Spanish Civil War with support from them and Portugal. He kept neutral during World War II because his country needed to recover. Right after coming up, he executed and jailed tens of thousands, and he outlawed unions, local dialects, and all religion except Catholicism. Orwell justly said Franco wanted to restore feudalism. Antonio Oliveira Salazar didn't take power by force. That was what the last 18 years were for. Instead, he was appointed by a military president in 1928 to handle all national finances. Oversimplified, he was chosen as he was a genius. He used his post to peacefully get the dictatorship. He married the economy and government, and balanced the budget, and religion surged. Hitler, after some months of improving military stance and laying the Brits poke at him, ordered Operation Weserübung be done. So he succeeded in occupying Norway and Denmark, because Denmark didn't think it could fight, and Norway had a pro-fascist diplomat. Germany wanted Scandinavia because it had minerals such as aluminum and iron to fuel their monstrous war. Then Hitler set his eyes on France, and his principal advantage would be the Luftwaffe, achieving air superiority in the Low Countries in 24 hours. The Allies had local victories like the battles Hanut and Stone, but the French command failed to acknowledge how vital the Luftwaffe would be. Their air raids demoralized soldiers, and the French Prime Minister Reynaud called Churchill on May 15th and said, "We are beaten." After the Allies evacuated at Dunkirk, aided by civilian fishermen, Mussolini joined the invasion in June. He bombed much land, but his armies were bogged by mountainous South France, and many resources were needed to push. Historically, people knew this would be the case. But in his invasion of Greece, he was haunted by the Nazi success and advantage of the North European plain, and was convinced of easy Greek conquest. Hitler was forced to save his less prepared force, and by June 1941 Greece was conquered. Adolf then had Yugoslavia invaded by all fascist neighbors in April 1941. In 2 weeks it was done, and a new fascist Croat state was made, which had good old crimes against humanity. Italian Libya started skirmishing with British Egypt as Mussolini originally declared war. He invaded in September. Although the North African campaign is quite exciting, we'll stop here because one of us is tired. So after Nazi success and Italian geographic caging, the fascists will become increasingly desperate and ravenous for world conquest, and their egos will not be checked until it is too late.